February 14, 1942. Cambridge, Massachusetts. Harvard University's Converse Memorial Laboratory. The air hangs heavy with the acrid temps of solvents and rubber, mingling with the faint, metallic hum of Bunsen burners, flickering like distant stars in the dim basement workspace. Outside, a light snow dusts the ivy-clad bricks of the campus, where students hurry between classes, their breaths puffing in the chill New England winter. But down here, in this clandestine corner requisitioned by the U.S. Chemical Warfare Service, the world feels worlds away from Valentines and sweetheart dances. Professor Louis Fieser, a lanky organic chemist with wire-rimmed glasses perched on his nose, hunches over a cluttered workbench, his white lab coat smeared with streaks of yellowish residue, his hands steady from years of precise experimentation. Carefully measure out a powdery mix of naphthalenic and palmitic acids derived from every day. Soap and coconut oil into a beaker of gasoline. You can almost hear the soft clink of glassware as he stirs, the viscous liquid sloshing lazily at first, then thickening into a gel-like slurry. Fieser's mind races, fueled by the urgent telegrams from Washington. Pearl Harbor is still a fresh wound, just 2 months old, and the Pacific is ablaze with Japanese advances. The military needs something new, a fire that sticks, that clings to bunkers and foxholes. That turns the enemy's defenses into infernos. Traditional incendiaries, like the magnesium bombs used in Europe, scatter and fizzle out too quickly in humid jungles or against fortified positions. Fieser, at 42, isn't a soldier, but he's been drafted into this shadow war of science. His team, a handful of graduate students and assistants, sworn to secrecy, works around the clock, testing formulas that could change the tide. "Easy now," Fieser mutters to his assistant, a young postdoc named E.B. Hirschberg, who holds a stopwatch. The room is a labyrinth of retorts, flasks, and rubber tubing, lit by harsh overhead bulbs that cast long shadows on the concrete floor. Fieser ignites a small sample with a match, and the mixture erupts not in a fleeting burst, but in a persistent, roaring flame that adheres to the test surface like molten glue. The heat radiates, warming their faces as the gel burns steadily, defying gravity, refusing to drip or extinguish. Fieser's eyes widen behind his spectacles. This is it. On this day of hearts and roses, they've birthed a monster. Napalm. Yes. The flame dances. Fieser steps back, wiping his brow with a sleeve. He thinks of his wife Mary, a fellow chemist who often collaborates with him on textbooks. But today she's home, unaware of the breakthrough's full implications. The professor jots notes in his leather-bound journal, his handwriting precise, formula M4, naphthanatal aluminum soap gel. Stable, adhesive, incendiary properties exceptional. He knows this isn't just chemistry, it's warfare redefined. Reports from the front lines describe Japanese soldiers burrowed into coral caves and log pillboxes impervious to artillery. Napalm could flush them out, turn their strongholds into pyres. But as the test burns out, leaving a charred scar on the metal plate, a flicker of unease crosses Fieser's mind. What have we unleashed? Word spreads quietly through the lab. By evening, Fieser telephones his contact at the Chemical Warfare Service, Colonel R.B. Wilson, his voice steady but laced with excitement. "We've got it, Colonel. A jelly that burns like hell and sticks like tar." Wilson, a gruff Army officer stationed in Edgewood Arsenal, Maryland, listens intently. The U.S. is gearing up for island-hopping campaigns. And this could be the edge they need against the Imperial Japanese Army's fanatical defenses. Within days, samples are rushed to Dugway Proving Ground in Utah for field tests dropped from mock aircraft onto simulated targets, where the gel splatters and ignites vast areas, far outperforming white phosphorus or thermite. Fieser's discovery doesn't happen in isolation. It builds on earlier work. The British had experimented with thickened fuels, but nothing as effective. Here at Harvard, under the auspices of the National Defense Research Committee chaired by Vannevar Bush, Fieser's team iterates rapidly. They test variations citing polystyrene for extra stickiness, adjusting ratios to withstand tropical humidity. By spring, production scales up at secret facilities, with companies like DuPont churning out the aluminum soaps in bulk. Fearsome oversees it all, traveling between Cambridge and Washington, his briefcase stuffed with classified memos. Imagine yourself there, in that basement, as Fearsome paces, dictating to his stenographer. The war feels distant, yet omnipresent radios blare news of Batan's fall, and enlistment posters plaster the walls. Fearsome, a Columbus, Ohio native who studied in Germany before the Nazis rose, knows the stakes. He's not blind to the ethics. In quiet moments, he confides to colleagues about the moral weight of their work, but duty calls. Napalm, named from its key acids naphthenic and palmitic, promises to save American lives by shortening the war. As months pass, the gel evolves. Initial tests reveal flaws, too thick for bomb casings, prone to separation in cold storage. Fearsome refines it, incorporating divinyl benzene crosslinkers for stability. By summer, M1 incendiary bombs filled with this new napalm are prototyped. They're thin metal shells designed to burst on impact, spreading fiery death over 100-foot radii. Pilots at Eglin Field, Florida. Practice drops on mock Japanese villages built from bamboo and thatch, watching as flames consume everything in seconds. Fearsome's role expands. He consults on delivery systems, aerial bombs, portable flamethrowers, even ideas for tank-mounted projectors. One evening, over cigars with military brass, he sketches designs on napkins, envisioning napalm's debut in the Pacific. Little does he know, it will first taste blood on distant islands, wielded by Marines storming beaches under withering fire. The lab buzzes with activity. Assistants like Ralph Wiley, who later invents saran wrap from similar polymer research, contribute ideas. Security Titans guards patrol the building. Documents are locked in safes. Fearsome's health strains under the pressure. He suffers migraines, but presses on. By late 1942, napalm is cleared for production, with thousands of tons slated for the arsenal. Yet, in this moment of triumph, Fearsome pauses at his desk, staring at a photo of his family. The gel that burned so brightly today will soon engulf cities. He pushes the thought aside. This is war, and innovation is survival. As the snow melts outside, heralding spring offensives, napalm waits in the wings, a silent revolution born from a chemist's ingenuity. The scene fades as Fearsome extinguishes the lights, the lab falling silent. But the fire he's kindled will rage across oceans, reshaping battles and blurring lines between combatant and civilian. This Valentine's gift to the war effort is just the beginning. July 31, 1944. Tinian Island, Mariana Islands. 500 hours, Red Beach 2. Salt spray lashes the steel ramp of the LVT for Amtrak as it grinds onto the coral shelf. Engines snarling like a wounded animal. Inside, Corporal Herschel Woody Williams, 20 years old, freckled, and already a veteran of Guadalcanal, grips the twin handles of the M1A1 flamethrower strapped to his back. The napalm mix 6 parts gasoline, 1 part thickener sloshes in the twin tanks. 30 pounds of liquid death pressing against his spine. You can feel the heat of the fuel through the canvas harness, the stink of it mixing with diesel fumes and the copper temps of fear. The ramp drops. Go, 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 screams the platoon sergeant, voice cracking over the staccato of Nambu machine guns stitching the surf. Woody leaps into knee-deep water, boots slipping on volcanic rock. The beach is a slaughter, Penn Marines crumple, packs bursting with blood. Their screams swallowed by the roar of 75mm guns from hidden pillboxes. Japanese defenders, dug into coral ridges and sugarcane fields, have turned Tinian into a fortress. Concrete bunkers, camouflaged with palm fronds, spit fire from slits no wider than a man's fist. Woody's squad 12 men from the 21st Marines. 3rd Marine Division hits the sand and crawls behind a shattered coconut log. Bullets whine overhead, snapping fronds like bones. Williams, O's bunkers at 2 o'clock take M. Lieutenant John W. Scott points with a grease-blackened hand. The nearest pillbox is 40 yards up a gentle slope, its muzzle flashing orange. 2 riflemen lay down covering fire with M1 Garands, brass casings tinkling into the sand. Woody rises to a crouch, heart hammering against his ribs, and charges. The flamethrower's pilot light hisses a leva blue tongue of promise. He squeezes the trigger. Whoosh! A 20-foot jet of liquid fire arcs through the dawn, splattering the bunker's aperture. The napalm sticks, spreads, crawls inside like a living thing. Screams erupt from within high. Animal wails cut short as the gel ignites ammunition. The concrete glows red. Woody pivots, hosing the next embrasure. The flame tank behind him, nicknamed Devil Dog, a Sherman M4A3 with a Navy mark. A flamethrower grafted to its barumbles forward, its own stream joining his in a hellish duet. You see it in slow motion, the napalm globules. Glowing orange, tumbling end over end, bursting against logged earth revetments. Japanese soldiers burst from a trench, uniforms ablaze, running in blind circles until they collapse, skin sloughing like wet paper. The air shimmers with heat. The smell is barbecue and gasoline and something sweeter, more terrible. Woody's ears ring. His hands blister inside the asbestos gloves. He doesn't stop. 5 bunkers. 6. The flamethrower's tanks run dry with a sputter, and he drops them, drawing his. 45 to finish a crawling defender whose face is a mask of char. By 0630, the beachhead is secured. Woody collapses against a blasted palm, chest heaving, staring at the smoking wasteland he's created. Bodies lie in grotesque poses, some still twitching. A Navy corpsman slaps a morphine syringe into a Marine's thigh nearby. Overhead, Grumman F-6F Hellcats streak in, dropping 500-pounders on Tinian Town. But it's the napalm that broke the spine here. It's Colonel Justice M. Chambers, battalion commander, watches through binoculars from an Amtrak turret. That kid just saved 100 lives, he mutters to his radio man. The recommendation for the Medal of Honor is typed that night. Back at the beach supply dump, crates stamped napalm handle with care are stacked like cordwood. Chemists from the 3rd Chemical Mortar Battalion mix fresh batches in 55-gallon drums, stirring with boat oars under mosquito netting. The formula has evolved since Harvard. 6% aluminum soap, 3% as-sobutyl methacrylate for better adhesion and humidity. It flows like syrup but burns at 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit for 8 minutes, long enough to cook a man inside a bunker. Woody doesn't know the science. He only knows the weight of the tanks, the kick of the trigger, the way the flame roars like a dragon. That night, in a foxhole scraped from coral dust, he writes a letter home to Huntington, West Virginia. Mom, today I carried hell on my back. Pray for me. He doesn't mention the smell. He never will. Across the island, the battle rages for 8 more days. Flame tanks converted, LVTs and Sherman's prow, the cane fields, flushing snipers from caves. At one point, a Japanese officer emerges with a white flag, only to detonate a satchel charge. The napalm response is immediate and total. By August 1st, Tinian is American soil. Engineers bulldoze runways for B-29s within weeks. The island that napalm helped conquer will soon launch the atomic bombs. But on this day, the fire is still new, still personal. As the sun sets blood red over the Pacific, Woody cleans carbon from the flamethrower's nozzle with a rag. A chaplain offers communion from a helmet. Woody declines. He's not ready to face what he's become. The napalm has done its job. It has turned defense into offense, fear into momentum. But in the quiet between artillery barrages, he hears the screams echo. The weapon works. That is the problem. The camera pulls back. Smoke columns rise like funeral pyres. Hellcats circle overhead, and the first B-29 prototype taxis on a distant runway. Tinian is secure. The Inferno is just beginning to spread. November 15, 1944. Saipan, Mariana Islands. The Seabees' makeshift workshop at a Sleeto airfield. Hammer blows ring out like machine gun fire against the humid dawn. Sparks flying from acetylene torches that carve through steel plates under a canopy of camouflage netting. The air reeks of welding flux and diesel exhaust thick enough to chew as Petty Officer First Class Harold Hal Messinger. A burly Navy mechanic from Detroit with grease-streaked forearms wipes sweat from his brow and surveys the beast before him. It's an M4A2 Sherman tank, hull number 23 from the 4th Tank Battalion, but it's no ordinary Sherman anymore. Bolted to its turret is a prototype. E-425 flamethrower assembly, a hulking nozzle fed by pressurized tanks of napalm mix. Jury-rigged from aviation, drop tanks, and submarine piping. The ground vibrates as the Continental radial engine idles, belching black smoke that mingles with the scent of crushed jungle foliage. You feel the tension coiling in the air, the distant boom of artillery from nearby Tinian, echoing like thunder. Saipan, captured just months ago in a bloodbath that claimed 3,000 American lives, now serves as a forward base for the island-hopping campaign. But the Japanese aren't done. Holdouts in the hills snipe at patrols, and intelligence warns of fortified caves on upcoming targets like Iwo Jima and Okinawa. Traditional tank cannons punch holes, but against entrenched infantry in spider holes and bunkers, they fall short. Enter the flame tank, a mobile inferno designed to roast the enemy alive. Messinger's Team Seabees from the 121st Naval Construction Battalion. Working alongside Army chemical officers, has been tasked by Major General Harry Schmidt to adapt these monsters for the Marines. Fire it up, boys, Messinger bellows over the clatter. A young ensign, fresh from stateside training, flips the ignition switch. The compressor whines, building pressure in the 75-gallon napalm reservoir. Messinger aims the nozzle at a test target, a mock pillbox built from sandbags and palm logs, 50 yards downrange. He squeezes the trigger grip, borrowed from an M2 Browning. A guttural roar erupts as the napalm stream launches. A 40-yard arc of orange fury that splatters the structure and ignites with a hump that sucks the oxygen from your lungs. Flames lick upward, consuming the logs in seconds, black smoke billowing like a funeral pyre. The heat wave rolls back, singeing eyebrows and drying the sweat on Messinger's shirt. The innovation didn't spring from nowhere. Back in Hawaii, at the Chemical Warfare School on Schofield Barracks, engineers like Captain Louis F. Lou Davis had experimented with mounting British Wasp flamethrowers on LVT Amtraks during the Tarawa Assault in 1943, but those were crude, short-range, prone to leaks. Napalm changed everything. By mid-1944, after Tinian's success, the Navy's Bureau of Ordnance accelerated programs. They sourced components from unlikely places, pressure regulators from depth charge mechanisms, ignition coils from PBY Catalinas. Messinger, a Ford assembly line veteran before enlisting, led the field modifications. Make it reliable, make it deadly, his orders read from Commander Task Force 56. As the test burns out, leaving a charred crater, Messinger nods to his crew. Lieutenant Colonel William R. Rip Collins, from the 2nd Armored Amphibian Battalion, strides up, his utilities starched despite the mud. "How's the range, Hal?" Collins asks, chewing an unlit cigar. 40 yards consistent, sir." But in wind, it drifts could be a problem on beaches. They discuss tweaks, adding a coaxial, 30 cal machine gun for suppression, reinforcing the hull against backblast. Declassified memos from Washington detail the Napalm Formula S upgrades. Now, M2 mixed with 8% polystyrene for thicker gel, resistant to salt spray. Production ramps up at Edgewood Arsenal with tankers shipped via LSTs to the Marianas. The human element weighs heavy. Crews training on these flame tanks dub Zippos or Ronsons after lighters face horrors in simulation. One misfire during trials scorches a Seabee's arm. Medics apply sulfa powder as he grits his teeth. Messinger thinks of his brother, lost on Guadalcanal to a banzai charge. "This'll pay him back," he mutters, torquing a bolt. But doubts creep in during quiet nights, under starlit skies punctured by flame warfare is intimate, visceral, no clean kills from afar. Diaries from operators later reveal nightmares, visions of writhing figures, the sizzle of flesh. By December, the first operational flame tanks roll out. On Saipan, they clear remnant Japanese pockets in the Mount Tapico caves. Sergeant Edward Ed Kowalski, a Polish-American tanker from Chicago, mans the first combat run. His Sherman, christened Satan's Breath, lumbers up a muddy trail, treads churning volcanic soil. Spotters radio coordinates, a cave mouth at grid 147 to 92, harboring snipers. Kowalski traverses the turret, the gyro stabilizer, humming. Light M up. The napalm jets in, filling the cavern with fire that billows out like dragon's breath. Rocks crack from the heat. Survivors stumble forth, hands raised, clothes smoldering. Kowalski's gunner mows them down with the 50 cal. The tactics evolve. Flame tanks operate in pairs, one suppressing with cannon, while the other flames. Marine infantry follows, bayonets fixed, to mop up. Casualties drop where once platoons were decimated assaulting bunkers. Now a single tank clears paths. General Holland M. Hallen, Mad Smith, praises the weapon in dispatches. Napalm in armored form is revolutionizing close support. But it's not without cost. Japanese Type 97 Chiha tanks counterattack one dawn, their 57mm guns glancing off Shermans but igniting exposed fuel lines. One flame tank brews up, crew bailing out amid explosions. Messinger's workshop becomes a hub. He trains Marine tankers like Private First Class Clarence Clar Anderson, teaching them to mix napalm on site, 2 parts thickener, 2 gasoline, stirred in drums with paddles. Safety drills emphasize no smoking, ground all equipment to prevent static sparks. Accidents happening, leak during refueling, engulfs a jeep, killing 2. The psychological toll mounts. Operators earn the nickname Torchmen, isolated even among comrades. As 1944 wanes, flame tanks ship out for Iwo Jima rehearsals. Messinger boards a transport, toolkit in hand, gazing at the receding islands. The Pacific War is shifting from ground slogs to aerial onslaughts, but the flame tank bridges them, a ground-based harbinger of the firestorms to come. In Washington, General Curtis LeMay pores over reports, envisioning napalm from the skies. But here, in the mud and heat, it's men like Messinger who forge the tools. The scene lingers, flames flickering in the workshop's gloom, shadows dancing on armored hulls. The Inferno grows, from handheld to mechanized, ready to consume the next island fortress. January 3, 1945. Harmon Field, Guam. 0300 hours, 21 Bomber Command briefing hut. The overhead fan spins lazily, pushing cigarette smoke in slow spirals toward the tin roof, where condensation drips like jungle rain. General Curtis Emerson, LeMay 38, stands at the front of the Quonset hut in a short-sleeved khaki shirt, pipe clenched between teeth that have chewed through too many nights of frustration. His eyes, cold and calculating, scan the room. 120 B-29 pilots and navigators. Faces pale under the glare of a single hanging bulb. Charts of Japan cover the walls. Tokyo, Nagoya, Osaka cities, marked with red grease pencil circles. On the table before LeMay lies a stack of intelligence photos, wooden houses packed like matchsticks. Paper shoshi screens, tatami floors, flammable. All of it. You hear the scratch of LeMay's match as he lights the pipe, the inhale sharp. "Gentlemen," he says, voice flat as Midwest prairie, "we're done screwing around at 30,000 feet. The room stills. For 6 months, the superfortresses have been lobbing high-explosive bombs from the stratosphere, accuracy abysmal, Japanese production barely dented. LeMay has studied the numbers. 178 B-29s lost, mostly to mechanical failure or weather. not flak. The planes can't carry enough bombs at altitude. The jet stream scatters them like confetti. But lower night, incendiaries. That changes everything. He taps a photo of Tokyo's Shitamachi district working-class wards, 90% wood and paper. One B-29 with M69 napalm bomblets can burn out for city blocks. 334 B-29s. He lets the math hang. The pilots shift in their folding chairs. Captain Robert Rosie Rosenthal, already a legend from the 8th Air Force in Europe, leans forward. "Sir, we'll be down in the flak. No guns, no formation." LeMay nods. "Strip the guns, strip the gunners, load napalm." We fly at 5,000 to 7,000 feet, radar-guided individual runs. You'll see the fires you start. The decision crystallized weeks earlier. In December 1944, LeMay, fresh from commanding B-29s in China, took over 21 bomber command from Haywood Hansell, who clung to precision daylight doctrine. LeMay didn't. He read the British reports on Hamburg and Dresden. The U.S. tests at Dugway, where replica Japanese villages burned in 90 seconds. He met with chemists from Edgewood, who briefed him on the new M69, a 6-pound canister filled with napalm-soaked cheesecloth. Ejected in clusters of 38 from an M17 amiable cluster. On impact, a white phosphorus charge ignites the gel, scattering burning globs over a 100-foot radius. One B-29 carries 40 clusters, 1,520 bomblets. A full raid, 500,000 fire starters. LeMay's staff works through the night. Major James Patillo, operations officer, plots routes to avoid known flak concentrations. Radar operators practice with the NAPQ-13 sets, learning to read the glowing scope for river bends and coastlines. Crew chiefs remove the Sperry ball turrets and tail guns, welding over the holes to save 3,000 pounds per plane. That weight becomes napalm. The 73rd Bomb Wing on Saipan, 313th on Tinian, 314th on Guamich, gets its quota. Ground crews, led by Master Sergeant Vito Vic Morelli. A Brooklyn Italian who could rebuild a radial engine blindfolded, supervise the loading. The M69s arrive in wooden crates stamped incendiary. Do not drop. Morelli cracks one open. The bomblets look harmless, like silver pineapples. He knows better. Training is brutal. On January 2nd, a practice mission over empty ocean drops live M69s on a raft target. The raft vanishes in a bloom of fire visible for miles. One B-29, straight flush *, piloted by Captain Claude Etherly. Returns with napalm residue on the bomb bay doors of Edens. The clusters sometimes arm prematurely. LeMay grounds the plane, demands fixes. The manufacturer, Standard Oil Development Company, rushes redesigned fuses overnight via submarine. LeMay's mind is elsewhere. He pores over Japanese weather reports, winter winds from the north. Dry season peaking in March. He studies Tokyo's population density. 103,000 people per square mile in the low city. He calculates burn rates. 15 miles per hour winds could spread fire faster than people can run. He doesn't flinch. "We're not bombing factories," he tells his deputy, Brigadier General Loris Norstad, over coffee. "We're bombing the will to fight." Industry is cottage-based lathes in living rooms. Burn the houses, burn the lathes, burn the workers. Norstad, a precision advocate, argues for restraint. LeMay cuts him off. "This is total war. They started it at Pearl. We finish it." The pilots feel the shift. Lieutenant Thomas Ferriby, bombardier on the future Enola Gay practices with the Norden site at low altitude. The city mock-ups on the bombing range are eerily accurate, built from Intel photos, complete with tiny wooden houses. Each hit registers on film. LeMay reviews the reels personally, marking misses with a red pen. Morale wavers. Some crews whisper about war crimes. Chaplain William Downey holds services in the mess hall, reading from Isaiah, "The Lord shall cause his glorious voice to be heard." Few are comforted. On January 27, the first operational test, 62 B-29s hit Tokyo's Nakajima aircraft plant with He. Results: mediocre. LeMay schedules the real thing for early March, weather permitting. He orders stockpiles. 1,700 tons of M69s already on Tinian. More en route. The islands hum with activity cranes swing crates from LSTs. Trucks haul them to hard stands, where B-29s squat like silver whales. Ground crews work in shifts, fueled by coffee and spam. One loader, Private First Class Hiroshi Harry Fukuhara, an Issei interpreter, reads Japanese propaganda leaflets dropped by enemy planes. American devils will burn in hell. He pockets one, says nothing. LeMay flies a familiarization mission himself on February 4th, riding as observer in *Dauntless. At 7,000 feet over Iwo Jima, still Japanese held, he sees the island's defenses clearly. Blockhouses, gun pits. He radios back. Napalm would clean that out in an hour. The comment is logged. Iwo falls weeks later, but the seed is planted. Back in the briefing hut, LeMay ends the session. You're not fighters. You're not bombers. You're arsonists. Light the match, then get the hell out. The pilots file out into the tropical night, boots crunching on coral gravel. Overhead, the Milky Way burns cold and indifferent. In the distance, B-29 engines cough to life for night practice. LeMay stays behind, alone with the maps. He traces Tokyo's rivers with a finger, imagining them as fire breaks that won't hold. The doctrine is set. Area incineration, civilian targets, no apologies. The camera lingers on LeMay's face, pipe smoke curling like the fires to come. The Pacific War has entered its final, merciless phase. The Inferno now has a general. March 9, 1945. 1800 hours. Tinian Island, North Field. Runway 1, hard stand 12. The floodlights snap on, bathing the tarmac in harsh white. B-29 Z-square, 42 the Pathfinder, idles at the end of the 8,500-foot runway. Fore right are 3350 engines, turning over with a deep, guttural thrum that vibrates in your chest. Major Robert Morgan, 73rd Bomb Wing, stands on the wing route, flight suit soaked with sweat despite the evening breeze. His bombardier, Captain Vincent Evans, checks the radar scope one last time. The green sweep line painting ghostly coastlines. Tonight, they lead 334 super fortresses. Calcines streaming in from Saipan and Guam Dynamite Boozehound Thumper Devil's Delight Devil's Delight Every plane is stripped. No turrets, mom bays stuffed with 178 M17 cluster 6.7 tons of napalm per ship. Total payload, 2,250 tons of fire. You smell the kerosene from the starter cartridges. Hear the metallic clatter of ground crews pulling chocks. Morgan climbs through the hatch, settles into the left seat. His co-pilot, Lieutenant James Jimmy Doolittle, no relation to the Tokyo Raider, runs the checklist. Fuel transfer pumps on. Superchargers low. Mixture auto-rich. At 1902, Morgan releases brakes. The B-29 lumbers forward, gathers speed, lifts off into the dusk. Behind him, the sky fills with silver specks. 279 bombers will reach the target. 15 abort with engine trouble before the Marianas fade astern. The flight north is 6 hours of black ocean and stars. Crews catnap in shifts, sipping coffee from thermoses, chewing duration bars. Radar operators hunch over scopes, guiding on the Kanto plane's distinctive radar return. At 2,330, the first Pathfinders cross the coast at 4,900 feet. Tokyo's searchlights stab upward, flak bursts bloom orange, but the guns are calibrated for high altitude. The shells detonate 20,000 feet above the bombers. LeMay's gamble pays off. No fighters rise. The Japanese have hoarded fuel for the expected invasion. The city sleeps under curfew, unaware. Morgan's voice crackles over VHF, Pathfinder to all aircraft. IP, inbound. Bomb doors open. The bomb bay yawns beneath *Z², 42 *. Evans peers through the Norden, but tonight it's radar bombing crosshairs on the Sumida River bend. At 0023, March 10th, he toggles the release. 38 clusters tumble out, arming as they fall. A 3-second delay. Then the canisters split at 2,000 feet, scattering 1,520 M69 bomblets like deadly confetti. They strike in a perfect rectangle across Asakusa and Honjo wards. White phosphorus igniters pop. Napalm ignites with a collective whoosh that registers on seismographs 150 miles away. From the cockpit, Morgan sees the first fire-steeny orange pinpricks at first, then blooming into a carpet. Jesus, do little whispers. The second wave arrives minutes later. Captain Charles Chuck McClure, an boxcar destined for Nagasaki in 5 months, releases over Koto Ward. His tail gunner, though unarmed, watches through the blister. It's like pouring gasoline on a barbecue. Winds gust 25 miles per hour from the northwest, pushing the firestorm southeast. Temperatures at ground level hit 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit. Asphalt streets bubble, glass windows melt into rivers. On the ground, Tokyo unravels. In the Shitamachi, 750,000 wooden houses sit cheek by jowl, alleys no wider than a man's shoulders. Air Raid Warden Tetsuo Kato, 52, runs through the streets in a hooded fire suit, banging a wooden clapper takudaksher. Evacuate to the river. But the bombs fall in a grid pattern LeMay's X mark over 16 square miles. M69s punch through tile roofs, burst in attics, ignite tatami and futons. Within 15 minutes, spot fires merge into conflagrations too large to fight. Fire engines race in, only to find hydrants dry civil defense had drained them to prevent water bomb damage. 14-year-old Michiko Tanaka clutches her baby brother in a doorway as the sky turns red. The heat sucks the air from her lungs. Her hair singes. Run. Her mother screams, but the crowd surges toward the Sumida bridges. People trample each other, shoes lost, kimonos aflame. The bridges become death traps, wooden planks burn. Iron railings glow. Thousands leap into the river, only to boil alive as burning debris rains down. Michiko sees a man carrying his elderly father. Both collapse, skin peeling in sheets. Above, the B-29s drone in relentless waves. Lieutenant Thomas Ferriby, in straight flush toggles at 0135. His load lands in Fukugawa, igniting a lumberyard. The updraft sucks his plane upward 300 feet. The altimeter spins. Firestorm, he radios calmly. The phenomenon is new to the crews. Superheated air rises at 100 miles per hour, pulling in oxygen at gale force. Winds reach 50 knots inside the burn zone, fanning flames into tornadic fire whirls that hurl burning brands to miles. Telephone poles snap like matchsticks. Steel girders twist. By 0230, the target area is a glowing cauldron. Pilots 50 miles out see the glare on their cockpit gauges. Captain Robert Lewis, future co-pilot of Enola Gay *, writes in his log mid-flight, "My God, what have we done?" The smell of burning wood and flesh drifts up to 7,000 feet, white sweet, acrid, unforgettable. Some crews vomit in their oxygen masks. On the ground, survival is random. In a concrete shelter near Nihonbashi, salaryman Hiroshi Yamamoto huddles with 200 others. The door warps from heat, paint blisters. Outside, the firestorm roars like a freight train. A woman gives birth in the dark. The baby's first cry is drowned by the Inferno. At 0300, the shelter's roof collapses. Only 43 emerge alive. The last B-29 clears the coast at 0315. Morgan circles once, photographing the burn scar with a K20 camera. The city is a lake of fire, 18 square miles ablaze, edges still spreading. He banks south, throttles up to 285 miles per hour. Behind him, Tokyo burns for 3 more days. Fire breaks fail. Canals evaporate. Final tally, compiled weeks later by the Tokyo Metropolitan Police. 267,171 buildings destroyed. 1,015,000 homeless. 100,000 dead, more than Hiroshima or Nagasaki in a single night. Most die from carbon monoxide or heat, not direct burns. Bodies shrink to child size in the intense heat, making identification impossible. Back on Tinian, the bombers land in formation, engines coughing from ingested soot. Ground crews cheer, but the pilots are silent. Morgan steps down, legs trembling. A chaplain waits with coffee. LeMay's cable arrives by jeep. Outstanding. Continue. No mention of the dead. Dawn breaks over the Marianas. The crews sleep in tents, haunted by the glow they left behind. Tokyo's ashes drift east on the jet stream. A gray snowfall over the Pacific. The firebombing campaign has begun in earnest. Next target, Nagoya, in 48 hours. The camera pulls back from the smoldering ruin, embers pulsing like heartbeats. One night, one raid, 1 million lives altered forever. The Inferno has a name now, Meeting House. March 11, 1945. 2,200 hours. Saipan Island, Eiley Field. Hard stand 7. 73rd Bomb Wing. The moon is a thin silver blade above the revetments, as Jolton Josie the Pacific Pioneer taxis in, props still windmilling. Captain Ralph Chelly Jr., fresh from the Tokyo Inferno, kills the engines and sits motionless in the left seat. His flight suit is stiff with dried sweat and soot. The cockpit reeks of scorched aluminum. Outside, the ground crew waits in silence. No cheers tonight. Chelly climbs down the ladder, boots crunching on coral grit, and lights a cigarette with shaking hands. 48 hours since Meeting House, and the 73rd has been ordered back into the air. Target, Nagoya. Payload, 1,800 tons of M69 South. LeMay's cable was 2 words. Press on. You feel the exhaustion in the air, thick as the tropical humidity. Crews have had 1 day of rest sleep interrupted by nightmares of Tokyo's glow. Medics pass out Benzedrine tablets like candy. Some pilots pocket them, others swallow. In the briefing hut, Major James Patillo stands before the map, pointer tapping the industrial heart of Japan's 3rd largest city. Mitsubishi aircraft plants are the aiming point, but the city burns. Same tactics, low level, night, individual runs. Winds forecast at 20 knots. Watch for updrafts. The room is quieter than before Tokyo. The men have seen what the bombs do. At 2,345, the first B-29 lifts off. 285 superfortresses in all 73rd from Saipan, 313th from Tinian, 314th from Guam climb into formation over the Black Pacific. The flight is shorter than Tokyo, 4 hours. Radar operators track the Eyes Bay coastline. The jagged return of Cape Irago. At 0255, March 12th, Pathfinder gods will drop flares over Nagaya's port. The city lights, up factories, shipyards, wooden worker housing packed between. Captain William Billy Wilson toggles first. His clusters burst over the Atsuta Ward. Within minutes, 500 separate fires merge into a single blaze. On the ground, factory worker Kenji Sato, 19, is on night shift at the Mitsubishi engine plant. The air raid sirens wail at 0300. He runs for the shelter, but the M69s are already falling. One bomblet punches through the corrugated roof, ignites on a stack of crated carburetors. The napalm spreads across oil-soaked floors. The building becomes a torch. Sato makes it outside, only to face a wall of flame advancing down the street. He dives into a drainage canal, water up to his waist as the heat boils the surface. His coworker, trying to save a lathe, is caught in the open. His silhouette flares, then collapses. The wind does the rest. Gusts drive the firestorm southwest, consuming 2.1 square miles. Temperatures top to 0 degrees Fahrenheit. Steel girders in the IIG aircraft factory sag like taffy. Fire whirls lift burning roof tiles 500 feet, raining them on adjacent neighborhoods. By 0400, the Mitsubishi complex is gutted. Production of Zero engines halts for weeks. But the civilian toll is heavier. 1,841 dead, 136,000 homeless. The B-29s exit unscathed, no losses to flak. One abort with a magneto failure. 2 nights later, Osaka, March 13, 2200 hours. 274 B-29s, 1,700 tons of napalm. The target is the commercial district warehouses, textile mills, worker tenements. Captain Robert Morgan, now leading the 869th Bomb Squadron, flies Pathfinder again. His bombardier, Lieutenant Vincent Evans, centers the crosshairs on the Dodombori Canal. The drop is textbook. Fires start in the wooden entertainment quarter. Winds are calmer, but the city is denser. 130,000 people per square mile. The fire spreads slower but hotter, trapped between concrete department stores that act like chimneys. In the Minami district, geisha apprentice Sumira Nakamura, 16, flees the Matsuya tea house as the roof ignites. She carries her shamisen in its silk case, a gift from her mother. The streets are rivers of people. A child is trampled underfoot. Sumiri reaches Umeda Station only to find the wooden structure already burning. She joins thousands on the platforms, but the heat warps the rails. A train stalls, passengers trapped inside. The firestorm peaks at 0300, burning out 8.1 square miles. Kobe follows on March 16, 331 B-29s, 2,100 tons. The port city is a shipbuilding hub. Wooden docks and worker housing line the waterfront. Captain Charles McClure in boxcar leads the 393rd. The drop zone is the Fukiye Ward. Napalm lands amid oil storage tanks. The resulting explosion lights the sky like daylight. Fire leaps across the harbor, igniting freighters at anchor. Dock worker Taro Yamamoto swims through burning water, his clothes on fire, to reach a pier. He survives with third-degree burns over 60% of his body. The city burns 3 square miles. 8,841 die. Many asphyxiated in underground shelters when oxygen is consumed. The pattern is set. Every 48 to 72 hours, a new city. The B-29 crews rotate. Some fly 3 raids in a week. Others stand down for maintenance. Ground crews work miracles, replacing superchargers blackened by soot, patching bomb bays scorched by premature ignitions. Master Sergeant Vito Morelli logs 18-hour shifts, fueled by coffee and rage at Japanese propaganda, calling them baby killers. He doesn't sleep. He sees Tokyo in his dreams. LeMay monitors from Guam. Daily cables tally, acreage burned, factories silenced, civilian dead. He meets with intelligence officer Colonel William Bill Irvine, who presents intercepted Japanese radio traffic. Panic in the Home Ministry calls for surrender negotiations. LeMay is unmoved. Not enough, he says. We keep burning until they quit or we run out of cities. He orders the next wave. 61 cities targeted. Any with population over 100,000 or war industry. The M69 stockpile on Tinian stands at 15,000 tons. More arrives weekly via Liberty ships. In the air, the psychological toll mounts. Lieutenant Thomas Ferriby, after Osaka, refuses Benzedrine. He stares at the bomb bay during the return flight, seeing the clusters as coffins. Captain Robert Lewis writes in his diary, "We are become arsonists. God help us." Chaplain William Downey holds voluntary services. Attendance triples. Some crews request transfer to Europe denied. Others volunteer for the atomic project. Anything but more fire. On the ground, Japan fractures. Emperor Hirohito tours Tokyo's ruins on March 18th, his motorcade passing endless ash heaps and skeletal streetcars. He says nothing publicly, but his advisor, Marquis Kido, notes in his diary, "The people's morale is breaking. Food riots erupt in Osaka. Black market rice sells for 100 yen a cup." The Home Ministry orders mass evacuations, children to the countryside, elderly to temples. But there is nowhere safe. Back on Saipan, March 19th, dawn. The last B-29 of the Kobe raid lands. Chelly steps down, lights another cigarette. The coral runway is littered with burnt napalm residue, black flakes that crunch underfoot. He looks north, where the horizon glows faintly from distant fires. The campaign has burned 32 square miles in 10 days, killed 15,000, displaced 1 million, and it is only the beginning. The camera lingers on the exhausted crews, the smoldering horizon, the endless Pacific. The firestorm has become a machine, relentless, mechanical, unstoppable. LeMay's War of Annihilation rolls on. June 15, 1945, 02:00 hours. Guam, 21 Bomber Command War Room. Fluorescent lights buzz overhead. General Curtis LeMay stands alone, shirt sleeves rolled high, a cold cup of coffee forgotten beside a stack of aerial reconnaissance mosaics. The walls are papered with burn charts, red grease pencil rectangles overlaying city maps: Tokyo, Nagoya, Osaka, Kobe, Yokohama, Kawasaki, and now 63 more. Each rectangle is a scar, square miles of charcoal where neighborhoods once stood. The latest mosaic, fresh from a PR-16 photo run, shows Toyama on the Japan Sea coast, 98.6% destroyed in a single night on June 10. LeMay traces the outline with a finger, then turns to the duty officer, Colonel John Montgomery. Next, Montgomery taps Shizuoka. Its population 220,000. Paper mills, tea warehouses, wooden, everything. Winds light. 127 B-29s on deck. LeMay nods. Do it. You can feel the rhythm, now industrial, inexorable. Every 48 hours, another raid. The Marianas airfields operate like factories. B-29s roll off hard stands at dusk, return at dawn blackened with soot, are serviced in 8 hours, reloaded, and sent back. The 315th Bomb Wing, newly arrived on Guam with radar-optimized B-29Bs, flies the night shift exclusively. Their planes carry no guns, only an APQ-7 Eagle radar for blind bombing through cloud. Ground crews have perfected the ballet, 300-pound M76 incendiary clusters winched into bays by hydraulic hoists. Napalm thickened to M3 formulate 10% polystyrene, burns hotter, sticks longer. A single superfortress now hauls 8 tons of fire. On the flight line, Master Sergeant Vito Morelli supervises the loading of Lucky Irish 869th Bomb Squadron. The bomb bay doors yawn like a shark's maw. Morelli's hands are raw from caustic thickener. He wears leather gloves, even in the heat. "Careful with that fuse pin, kid," he growls at a 19-year-old armorer. One spark, and we're all barbecue. The boy nods, sweat dripping off his nose. They work under red floodlights to preserve night vision. Overhead, the Milky Way is drowned by searchlights sweeping for imaginary intruders. The islands haven't slept in months. Aboard Lucky Irish Captain Ralph Chelly briefs his crew in the cramped tunnel between cockpits. Shizuoka's small, but dense. Aim for the castle stone walls, make a perfect radar return. Drop at 6,500, then get the hell out before the updraft grabs you. Navigator Lieutenant Saul Bernstein plots the dogleg route, up the Suruga coast, inland over Mount Fuji's radar shadow, egress south over Izu. Radio operator Sergeant Angelo Spinelli tunes the liaison set to monitor. Tokyo Roshi's been mocking the Beeson arsonists nightly, her voice syrupy with contempt. Spinelli laughs bitterly. She ain't seen nothing yet. Takeoff is at 127. B-29s climb into formation, a silver constellation against the volcanic night. The flight is 4 hours. At 0130, June 17th, the Pathfinder drops magnesium flares over Shizuoka Castle. The city below is a dark quilt of wooden roofs and narrow alleys. Chelly's bombardier, Lieutenant Vincent Evans, centers the eagle scope on the castle keep. Doors open. Steady. Bombs away. 8 tons fall in a silent cascade. 2 minutes later, the first fires bloom. By 0200, the entire city is a light 7.1 square miles. 1,914 dead, 120,000 homeless. The castle survives. Everything else is ash. The pattern repeats across the home islands. July 1st, Kumamoto 1.6 square miles, 1,200 dead. July 6th, Kura site of the Imperial Navy's last battleships. 178 B-29s drop 1,300 tons. The harbor becomes a crematorium for 2,473 sailors trapped aboard the burning carrier, Amaji, July 9th, Gifu, 1.8 square miles. July 12th, Utsunomiya, 2.1 square miles. The raids grow smaller in tonnage, but surgical in effect. LeMay's staff targets cities under 100,000 population know any cluster of war industry. Any rail junction, any morale center. The M69 gives way to the M74 bat bomb, a 500-pound cluster of 106-pound napalm canisters, designed to saturate smaller grids. On the ground, Japan unravels. In Sendai, schoolteacher Akiko Hashimoto evacuates her students to the countryside, marching them along roads choked with refugees, pushing carts of bedding and rice. The children sing military songs to keep spirits up, but at night they cry for parents lost in earlier raids. In Hiroshima's still untouched city officials distribute bamboo spears, training housewives to fight tanks. They know the bombers are coming. They just don't know when. In the air, the crews are ghosts. Captain Robert Morgan, now a major, flies his 25th fire mission over Wakayama on July 9th. His logbook is a litany of cities erased. He hasn't ridden home in weeks. Co-pilot Jimmy Doolittle develops a twitch in his left eye. The flight surgeon prescribes phenobarbital. Tail gunner, though there are no guns, Sergeant Jack O'Brien keeps a tally scratched inside the fuselage. 42 cities, 112 square miles, unknown dead. He adds a new hash mark after each raid, then stares at it until the numbers blur. LeMay flies occasional missions as observer. On July 24th, he rides an Dimples 82*2. From 7,000 feet, he watches the firestorm form in real-time updrafts, lifting entire roofs, spinning them like burning leaves. He takes notes in a small black book. Wind speed, burn rate, civilian evacuation patterns. Back on Guam, he briefs the Joint Target Group. We've destroyed 43% of the built-up area in the 67 largest cities. Industrial output down 60%. Food distribution collapsing. Keep the pressure. He orders the final phase, any city with a name. August 1st, Toyohashi 2.3 square miles. August 5th, Maebashi 2.8 square miles. The B-29s fly in daylight now, escorted by P-51 Mustangs from Iwo Jima. Japanese fighters are rare. Fuel is gone, pilots are dead. Flak as sporadic shells burst like black flowers far below. The crews feel invincible and damned. On Tinian, the atomic project runs parallel. Colonel Paul Tibbets trains the 509th Composite Group in silver B-29s with British bomb bays. The firebomb crews watch them with envy. Those planes carry one bomb, not hundreds. Rumors swirl. A city killer, a single blast. The napalm veterans scoff. "We've been killing cities for months," one says. One bomb won't change the math. By August 14th, 67 cities lie in ruins. 178 square miles burned. 500,000 dead. 8 million homeless. Rice riots sweep Kyoto. The Emperor's Council meets in emergency session. LeMay prepares the final blow. 800 B-29s over Tokyo again, August 15th, to coincide with a naval bombardment. The planes are loaded, crews briefed. Then the world shifts. August 15th, 1945. 1200 hours. Guam LeMay's office. A teletype clatters. Japan surrenders. Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Soviet invasion. The Emperor's broadcast. LeMay reads the message twice, then crumples it. He walks to the window, stares at the flight line where 800 bombers sit loaded with napalm. The war is over. The firestorm ends not with a bang, but with a voice on the radio. The camera lingers on the silent hardstands, bomb bays still pregnant with death. The Inferno has consumed the rising sun. The cost is written in ash across an empire. Asterisk, asterisk, August 16th, 1945. 0600 hours. Tinian Island, Northfield. Hardstand 34. 873rd Bomb Squadron. The sun rises blood-run over the coral runway, but no engines roar. The B-29 asterisk Devil's Own asterisk sits heavy on its gear. Bomb bay doors sealed over 178 M17 clusters that will never fall. Captain Ralph Chelly stands beneath the wing, flight cap in hand, staring at the napalm canisters stacked like silver coffins in the bomb bay. "The war ended yesterday," Hirohito's voice crackling over shortwave at noon. Thin and reedy, surrendering unconditionally. Chelly's crew gathers around him. Lieutenant Vincent Evans. Sergeant Angelo Spinelli. The others' faces hollowed by 6 months of fire. No one speaks. The only sound is the wind rattling palm fronds and the distant clank of a bulldozer pushing burnt M69 husks into a pit. You can taste the silence, metallic and final. For 167 days, the Marianas Fields launched hell every second night. Now the hardstands are graveyards of unused ordnance, thousands of tons of napalm. M69s, M74s, M76s, destined for cities that no longer need burning. A Navy ordnance lieutenant, clipboard in hand, walks the line. "Mark M for disposal," he orders. Dump at sea, 2,000 fathoms. Ground crews, led by Master Sergeant Vito Morelli, begin the grim task. They winch clusters from bomb bays, stack them on flatbeds, drive to the cliff at Suicide Point. One by one, canisters splash into the deep, trailing bubbles like the last breaths of the dead. Chelly lights a cigarette, the match flaring briefly against his sunburned face. He hasn't slept. Yesterday, after the broadcast, the base erupted cheers, backslaps, beer cans cracked open. But the firebomb crews stood apart. They had seen Tokyo from 7,000 feet, watched Osaka's canals boil, felt the updraft from Kobe's harbor. Victory tasted like ash. Spinelli, the radio operator, finally breaks the quiet. "We burned 67 cities, Skipper, 500,000 people. And it took 2 bombs we never dropped to end it." Chelly exhales smoke. "We did our job," he says, but the words ring hollow. Across the Pacific, Japan is a necropolis. In Tokyo's Shitamachi, survivors pick through rubble with chopsticks, searching for rice bowls, wedding photos, the charred bones of children. The smells, wheat, cloying, unforgettable lingers in the nostrils of every firefighter, every mother, every orphan. In Nagoya, the Mitsubishi plant is a twisted skeleton. Workers who once built Zeros now scavenge nails from the ruins. In Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the atomic scars are raw and glowing. But the napalm cities are colder gray, endless, silent. On Guam, General LeMay meets with his staff one last time. The war room maps are rolled up. The grease pencil burn scars erased. He issues no victory statement. Instead, he dictates a memo to Washington. Incendiary campaign achieves strategic paralysis of Japanese urban industrial base. Recommend retention of napalm stocks for future contingency. The words are clinical, detached. Later, alone in his Quonset hut, he pours a bourbon and stares at a photo of his wife and daughter back in Ohio. He does not smile. Woody Williams, the flamethrower Marine from Tinian's beaches, now a sergeant, stands on Red Beach to where it all began. The coral is scarred with tank tracks. A rusted M1A1 flamethrower lies half-buried in sand. He has been awarded the Medal of Honor, but the ribbon feels like lead on his chest. He thinks of the bunkers, the screams, the way napalm crawled into concrete slits like a living thing. A Navy chaplain approaches, offers a Bible. Woody waves him off. "I carried hell, Padre. Don't need another book to tell me where I'm going." In Harvard's Converse lab, Professor Louis Fieser receives a classified report. 178 square miles incinerated. 500,000 civilian dead. He sits at the same workbench where, on Valentine's Day, 1942, he stirred naphthenic and palmitic acids into gasoline. The beaker is gone, but the stain remains a faint yellow ring on the wood. His wife Mary finds him there at dusk, head in hands. "We saved lives," he whispers. "American lives." She does not answer. Outside, students laugh on the quad, unaware that the war's most terrible weapon was born in their basement. September 2nd, 1945. Tokyo Bay, USS Missouri *. The surrender ceremony. Emperor Hirohito's representatives signed the instrument aboard the battleship, gray-suited and expressionless. General MacArthur's voice booms over the loudspeakers. "Let us pray that peace be now restored to the world." On the deck, napalm veterans stand at parade rest. Shelley, Williams, Morelli medals, gleaming eyes, fixed on nothing. Overhead, a flight of B-29s roars in formation, a final salute. The planes are clean, bomb bays empty. No one cheers. Years later, the reckoning deepens. In 1953, the U.S. Strategic Bombing Survey concludes, the firebombing campaign, not the atomic bombs, broke Japan's will to fight. LeMay, now SAC commander, testifies before Congress. There are no innocent civilians in total war. Fieser, retired, refuses interviews. Woody Williams visits schools, speaks softly of duty, never of the smell. Shelley becomes a commercial pilot, flies cargo over the Pacific, avoids Japan. Morelli opens a garage in Brooklyn, tells his grandchildren the war was just a job. But the fire remembers. In Tokyo, a museum rises on the Sumida River glass cases with melted sake bottles. A child's Gita sandal fused to asphalt. A napalm canister fragment labeled Marianas, 1945. Schoolchildren file past in silence. In Cambridge, Fieser's old lab is a storage closet. The yellow stain is painted over. On Tinian, the runways are overgrown with jungle, but the coral still bears black scars where M69s cooked off in the sun. The camera pulls back, slow and relentless. From the Marianas to the home islands, a chain of fire, a chemist's beaker, a marine's flamethrower, a general's map, a city's scream. The war ended, but the inferno lingers in memory, in soil, back in the quiet spaces where 500,000 names are not spoken.